Faculty of Industrial Technology and Systems Engineering. Electics, Faculty of Intelligent Electrical and Informatics Technology. CivPlan, Faculty of Civil, Planning, and Geoengineering. CreaBiz, Faculty of Creative Design and Digital Business. Vocation, Faculty of Vocation. And Interdisciplinary School of Management and Technology. Recognized as one of the top best-ranked institutes doesn't mean the finish line for ITS. To gain greater international recognition, ITS launched International Undergraduate Program. Students can get wider international exposure through 20 study programs they can apply. The chances are also open for professors from all over the world to teach and conduct research at ITS. These opportunities have made international joint research and other international activities successfully performed. Like IUP, students and lecturers from other programs have also contributed to the ITS achievements. Appreciations earned exemplify Institute's excellent performance. But technology and academic excellence is not the only goal of the Institute. Students are guided to apply their knowledge for the welfare of society. Because to note a new life-changing history, technology must advance humanity. ITS, Institute Technology, 10 November.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start commence the program, and here are the following webinar protocol. For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room, and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Okay, hello everyone, good afternoon. It is very nice to meeting you all. Can you hear my voice clearly? Okay, let me check with everybody here. So, Emmanuel Lembang, are you with me from ITS? Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yeah, madam. I can learn with clearly.
Okay, so everyone, again, I would like to welcome you all to our today's meeting, guest lecture series on SDGs. So it has been quite a lot of series that you've been through. But before we start, I would like to invite you all to please adjust your account Zoom name with the name and also the ID screen using name and the name of your campus. And second, during the lecture, please turn off your microphones and feel free later on to turn on your microphone again if you would like to ask for questions and also discussions with the speaker. And the third letter, the committee will share with you on the chat box about the attendance. So please fill in the attendance form that will be put down on the chat box from the committee. And last but not least, we would like to ask your active engagement during the lectures and discussions. Please feel free to put down your questions on the chat box, or you may raise your hand and unmute your microphone later on. But before we start, could you please guys turn on your camera? So I would like to see all of the beautiful faces that attending the sessions today. Can I have and ask all of the participants that attending today's meeting to a bit sharing, and I would like to greet you all. We have here Miss Savannah Serdelin. Would you like to say hi for a moment? Can you unmute yourself? Miss
Yes,
Safa.
hi everyone. I am connecting with you from Jerusalem, Palestine, Al-Quds.
Oh, nice to meet you. And
I am now in my university in Palestine.
Okay, nice to meet you from virtually from Palestine. I hope you enjoy this session. Is it your first time joining our guest lecture series?
No, okay. I attended all lectures, but I don't change my name. I asked not to change it from the first time because I don't have the ID. I attended all the lectures, and also I attended a training before a couple of months also related to fintech and so on. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to study with you and develop ourselves with new skills. Thank you very much again.
I hope that you got a lot of insights from our program. As please enjoy the program, and hopefully we can provide you with the networks and as well as knowledge about SDGs through this GLS series. So,
yes, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. To continue the sessions, I know that you've been waiting for our really great speaker here, but before I jump into our speaker again, I would like to greet other participants that also with us. We have Ivy from SSCT. Ivy, are you with us? Can you unmute yourself, Ivy?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone.
How are you, Ivy?
I'm good, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Ivy, is it your first time joining? Or have you also joined the previous sessions?
From the beginning, from the kick-out, ma'am, until now.
Okay, really great that you following all of the guest lecture series from the kick-off meeting. How is your feeling following all of the series of SDGs program?
So far, it was good, and I learned a lot about sustainable development goals and the 7th. Mostly, I think it's mostly about the 7 sustainable development goals.
Okay, thank you, Ivy, for sharing with
Thank
us.
you.
But please stay tuned because today we will also learning about one of also the most important SDGs number 17. So here we would like to share with all of the participants that today's meeting on today is Wednesday, 23rd of March. We will be having the guest lecture series on SDGs number 17 about partnerships for the goals. And I would like to greatly introduce you guys to our respected guest speaker. Today we have Ms.Jayani Rathnayaka, or we call her Ms. J. How are you, Ms. J?
Yes, I'm doing great, and I'm really happy to see you all guys here. And especially, I would be much thankful to Ms.Jayani and Phi you as well, because you were doing a great job in contacting myself, and even while having the test runs as well. So I'm really happy to see you all guys because I'm from Sri Lanka, and yes, as Asians, we'll do something better in the means of SDGs.
Yes. Yes, perfectly, Ms. J. We will do something in regard to our SDGs missions. Before we go to the lectures from Ms. J, I would like to again briefly introduce Ms. J. And here is the CV of Ms.Jayani, Ms.Jayani Rathnayaka. She's from University College of Rathnayaka from Sri Lanka. So her educational background currently having the postgraduate diploma in tourism, economic and hotel management in University of Colombo, Sri Lanka. And also she had a really great working experience, including being a lecturer and also involved in secretary to board of study in University College of Rathnayaka. And not also to mention, Ms. J also having a best presenter of the sessions in Second National Symposium of Social Science from University of Kalania. So without further ado, I guess I would like to give the floor to Ms. J to have lectures about SDGs number 17 with the title Public-Private Partnerships for Sustainable Development. Ms. J, the time is yours.
Hi, good evening to everybody. Hi, Boan. First of all, actually, I'm really happy to see you guys here during such kind of a pandemic situation even. And I really appreciate the effort taken by this team. So, yes, by this team, along with the leadership and the collaboration with Ms. Raini and all, because during such kind of a pandemic situation, moving to such kind of topics is very important, because this has become a current requirement, not only for one particular country, whether it's a developed country or either it's a developing country or even a non-developed country. So moving forward along with sustainable development goals is the utmost requirement and the most valuable point of today, because there has to be a planet for us to live in future, and even the future generation, they should be available, they should be able to use whatever we are using right now in the means of resources, right? So again, thank you everyone, and even the participants and the organizing committee. So I think I'm audible to everyone. So let me introduce myself. I'm not going too much deep since Ms. Pai did a great introduction about myself. I'm Ms.Jayani Rathnayaka and I'm from Sri Lanka. As she mentioned, I'm into the subject of tourism and cultural resources management when it comes to my first degree. And I have completed my postgraduate diploma in tourism, economics, and hotel management from another state university here in Sri Lanka. And I'm awaiting to start my master's leading to PhD soon in another country. So currently I'm working as a lecturer probationary to the University College of Rathnayaka in travel and tour management, the same discipline in which I have learned. And of course, I have done visiting lecturing for few private institutes as well as for the one government institute in Sri Lanka. I think the exposure that I have gathered so far, along with my experience as well as the education that I have gained so far, would be beneficial for you. So that's what I requested to be a guest speaker today. So let me move to the slides. Yes. This is the content in which I would be speaking today. First will be the introduction to sustainability and the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Then I would be talking about the MDGs or the Millennium Development Goals versus the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. Then the 17th SDG, in which I have selected as the major point today. And apart from that, then moving forward to my direct topic, public-private partnership, introduction to that part. And then I will be talking about why partnership matters for this concept of SDG. Then the conclusion, the suggestions and recommendations, and I have mentioned few references that I have referred. When I share the presentation with you, I think it would be beneficial for you as well whenever in future, whenever you go through an assignment or something like that. Okay, sustainability. Here, sustainability is not something very new to the entire world currently, right now. Even when we talk about our history, we have taken some steps along with this concept, but as a policy or as a formal concept, we have started to be adhere to this like since 1987 after this the introduction or the launch of this Brundtland Commission report. Then only we formally started moving to this concept of sustainability because of this industrial revolution and the use of the overuse of natural resources and also the global warming that took place so far over the few years, over past few years. Then the entire world thought that if this takes forever or further, there won't be an earth for us to live, a planet for us to live. So because of that, the entire the world, the leaders put together and they paid their attention to introduce a concept called sustainability. As I told you, as Asians, especially us, it is not a very new concept for us. When we when we look backward to our history, we might find plenty of occasions in which our ancestors had followed this concept. Even when we are moving through our the stories of our own religions, we might get, however, the religion leaders have advised to their followers to use the resources in a sustainable manner. I mean, not to waste the resources that we are having right now. Likewise. So, the sustainability is, in general, if I say, it is the use of whatever things that we use right now without compromising the future needs. That means there we do not disturb or we do not limit the right that the future generation is having in future. That means in general or in simple way, that is that we have to use all these resources in a limited way without harming them or without compromising the future needs. Here, as we all know, sustainability is a basic concept in which There is a collaboration of all these three factors of society, environmental, and economics. And of course, normally we say that society in the sense socio-cultural aspect, environmental aspect, and the economical aspect. And if there is the collaboration of all these three factors without violating any even one factor, we can call that it is sustainable. But if any one even one factor is violated, we are no longer, we can't say that is sustainable. And there's one more thing I have to say when talking about sustainability. Here, now, since like 1987, we were learning, and there were even plenty of researchers had been done, plenty of speakers, plenty of people have included this topic into their agendas in public discussions, public forums, and all. But with the time, the scholars got to know that rather than being limited to these three factors is not that enough because of the current requirements. So because of that, they reintroduced the same concept with three P's concept. That is, we call people, planet, and profit. People in the sense the socio-cultural aspect, the profit in the sense the economical aspect, and the planet is in the sense environmental aspect. Right. Okay, I'm moving forward with the other slide. Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainable Development Goals, I think as you already know, there are about 17 goals, and which had been introduced by the United Nations Organization around 2015. There are some goals like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water and life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions. The final is the partnership for the goals. That means the point in which we have selected for the discussion today. Here, as I told you earlier, there are two concepts actually, MDGs and SDGs. Here, MDGs means the Millennium Development Goals, and the SDGs means the Sustainable Development Goals. They are in Sustainable Development Goals. We do have 17 factors, and along with like 169 targets to be achieved in 2030. And MDGs mean the Millennium Development Goals, which had been introduced in around like 2004. So in the Millennium Development Goals, of course, there are about 8 goals. Would be moving forward. Sorry, the Millennium Development Goals, the introductory year is 2000. Here you can find there are about 8 goals here as well. Eradicate extreme poverty and hunger, the same thing which was repeated even in the SDGs. Achieve universal primary education, of course we have it in the SDGs. Promote gender equality and empower women, of course it was there. Reduce child mortality, improve maternal health, combat HIV, AIDS, malaria and other diseases, ensure environmental sustainability, and the final is the Global Partnership for Development. Again, you can see that this concept of partnership is again, it is there even in Millennium Development Goals that were introduced in 2000 as well. We'll see what is this 17th SDG or 17th Sustainable Development Goal is. It is about partnerships for the goals, and the target is strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. Here, what we discuss in this, the point is we want to have this or the sets clear in the means of implementing and revitalizing the global partnership while reaching for this the target of sustainable development. As I told you, when it comes to Sustainable Development Goals, there are about 169 targets. These 169 targets encounter or empower like ending poverty and hunger, and improving health and education, and of course creating cities that are sustainable, and of course combating the climate crisis, as well as it encounters protecting oceans and seas, that means life below water. So moving to the 17th SDG, here what we highlight is, we highlight the global partnership for sustainable development, because normally, you know, there's a saying called united we stand, divided we fall. That means like if we work together for kind of a certain target, really it would be successful than that like we work alone for a particular goal. And mobilize and share knowledge, expertise, technology, and financial resources between multi-stakeholder partnerships. In the means of financial aspect or in the means of economic aspect, as well as sharing the knowledge and conducting of researches and bridging the gap between any industry and academia. For all these things, what we need is this partnership. And goal 17, of course, it has 19 targets. These 19 targets are broken out into 5 categories like finance, technology, capacity building. Capacity building might be in the means of like the training programs that we might conduct for the people or in the community, or it might be in a particular industry like tourism. And trade, systematic issues. Systematic issues again highlight the formation of policy, the frameworks, the legislation, and of course the monitoring, and of course maintaining of the data that we have in our hands with relevant to several industries. So basically these are the 5 categories that we would be highlighting in this 17th goal. So one can argue that why does this 17th goal is important? I don't say that the rest of the 16 goals are not important. Of course important, but you will know, and it will be clear for you why do I say that 17th goal is more important. Because you know, the same thing that I repeat here, like if we do something with the collaboration of few parties or few organizations or few people, if we engage in kind of an activity, the rate of getting success is higher than that of like we are doing alone. So likewise, the sustainable development agenda requires partnerships, not only between like the governments, between 2 governments or between 3 governments. No, not only that. It is not enough. We should have between governments, the private sector, and even the civil society or the community or the local community, because they are also a part of it. They also have a right of it, and they also are the people who are getting the benefits of it. So they are also, we can call them stakeholders of any industry. And the other thing is like innovation cannot be taken place without universities, scientists, right? So basically now even this platform, of course, we are discussing about this topic and it's organized by this your university, and we are giving our own ideas, suggestions, recommendations for the development of this, for the success of this, the SDGs. That means a particular government or a private sector organization is no longer available to achieve these targets without the collaboration of the universities or whatever the academic institutes, because the academic institutes are the places where the researches are done. the new knowledge is produced, right? So because of that, certainly there has to be the exchange of knowledge across continents. Not only now, if we take like Asia, like whatever the knowledge that we create, it is not right to exchange within Asia only. It is not sustainable. We have to share it with the entire world. So then only as a team, as one team, we can reach to this goal. Then the gender equality on participatory approach. Now, recently we had the Women's Day celebration. So, of course, we wanted to break this bias always as women and to empower the women. So, this of course cannot be done alone because there has to be the collaboration of all these public sector, private sector, and even the community. Because now, especially like since we all are, most of us are Asians, I would like to say now this most of these in Asian countries we do have this stereotype, that stigma that we have, that women has to do this pots and pans and manage this household and give the birth to children and care them and give them a good better education and train them for their future. No, not that. They do have the right. They do have the right. They do have the right to engage in a job, employment, earn a salary, and like if they are eligible to balance all these, then that is okay. But for this to be making, for this to be successful, definitely there has to be the collaboration of the community, especially in this point. Because like imagine like if husbands are not supporting to their wives, they will not be able to gain their gender equality. That means this has to be inculcated or incorporated even in the primary unit of our the society, family. It has to be started even from smallest unit of family. So there has to be the collaboration, partnership of all these sectors. Then the final point is building inclusive partnerships upon and shared vision and shared goals of the global, regional, national, and local level. Here, now when it comes to the building of partnerships and working together, earlier it was like might be the countries in the same region, might be the countries in the same continent or something like that, and sometimes might be the companies within one region of a particular country. No, we have to go beyond these limitations and we have to get partnered with the global, regional, national, and even local level. But here we should not forget that, like, when we are telling that we have to go for the international standards, might be, but we should not forget the local level as well, because they too should get the opportunity to be a part of it, any kind of a process or kind of an activity. Moving forward with the next slide. Then as a result now is it shows that the 17th sustainable development goal, whatever we highlight about partnerships, is really important. So because of that, I would like to say public private partnership is the utmost important thing that currently that we have to warmly welcome for our countries, because we know, like, because of this the global pandemic that we had for about like 2 years since 2019, most of our economies are down, especially these Asian countries, because we are highly dependent on tourism industry. So lots of employments they have, the companies or the hotels or whatever the relevant companies, they are not in operation well. The arrivals are rivals have been gradually decreased, and right now only we are raising our heads a bit. But of course, it is uncertain because with this situation, because this industry is so sensitive. So, as a result, as a solution for all these, whatever the situation that has been created so far along with the pandemic, I would highly suggest if we can go for this public-private partnership, it would be the best solution right now. Because a certain government is not eligible, no longer eligible to perform at least the daily or whatever the monthly or annual, whatever the operations within the country. No longer just a public sector company is no longer eligible to stand up in between this crisis alone. They need the supporting hand of the government. Of course, the government needs the supporting hand of the private sector as well as the community. So, because of that, we can say that this public-private partnership is kind of like a medication for this uh, the economy that has been so far collapsed because of this global pandemic. There are some two statements that I have shared here on the public-private partnership. The first is Van Jones. Van Jones is an American commentator, and according to him, the time has come for a public-private community partnership to fix this country and put it back to work. Now he says that it is the right time to go for this public-private partnership because we all are in a severe situation, and it's a very big hardship for all of us. So whatever the solution, whatever the rest, what we have in our hands is the partnership or partnering with might be the public sector or might be the private sector and the community. So he has highlighted that it is the only solution and it is the right time or the high time for us to move with this concept further. And here you can find a very nice lady. He is Queen Noor of Jordan. She of course has highlighted all depend upon the engagement of as many people as possible on all levels, from civil society to national leaders, to advocate for the kind of national and international commitments, legislation, and public-private partnerships that can make the difference. Now, what she says is, of course, a kind of a similar idea to Van Jones. She, of course, says that even it is national or international, whatever, in any level, what we can do right now is the public-private partnership, and she expects that the expected difference that we wanted can be created in all according to be like aligning with this PPP or the public-private partnership. Before moving to this slide, this public-private partnership is of course not a very new concept to the entire world, because now when we search in our history, there are about some several instances in which in certain countries that they have adhered to this concept. First is in Roman Empire, that there had been some concessions had been given to the public sector in order to engage in several development projects in the names of highways, canals, and all. And even in 1792, for the Perrier brothers in France, of course, they have given some concessions in order to create a canal to take water in Paris. So these are only few instances that we can give examples from our history. But as a formal incident, as a documented formal incident in recently, in 1992, public-private partnership, a project had been done with public-private partnership in United Kingdom in 1992. So these are the recent examples that we can sort out as history. Uh, Here, now public-private partnership is, as I told you, it is the coordination between the public and private stakeholders to formulate, to design, finance, and manage common interest in the field of skills. Here, you might think, what is this stakeholders mean? Stakeholders means, if you take any industry, the people who are directly and indirectly who are into the industry might be getting benefits or might be being an influence to the industry, we call them stakeholders. Most of the times, the community or the general public is of course a stakeholder for a certain industry. Now, if you take tourism, if we take my familiar subject area, tourism industry, the stakeholders mean, of course, there are public sector and the private sector. Public sector is for this creation of this legislation, introducing new gazettes and all, bills and all, and making them into action. And of course, on the other hand, they do perform the inspection and giving the star classification of to hotels and all that part. And the private sector, they are directly dealing with, might be the travel agents, might be the hoteliers, might be the airlines, might be the ground transport that they help, right? So, moving to the next slide. So, these are the key benefits of public-private partnership. I hope you all can see the screen. The first is consume less time and improve monitoring. And I would just summarize in this. Promotes infrastructure development and local development. Increase technical and technological cooperation. Provide elastic services, reducing service cost. Build cooperative growth through private sector integration. Risk sharing with private partners. Help to lessen public sector budget constraints. Promote innovation and creativity. At a glance, you might think that there are some points that are not much important, but there are some points, of course, really important, because now if we are in this point of PPP, the risk is shared between two parties, might be the private sector and the public sector. So imagine now, if we are investing on kind of a project during this pandemic situation alone, the risk that we take is higher. But if we have some partners for us, might be the government or might be the private sector, the risk that is incurred on the particular investor is less, because that it gets distributed equally. And because of this public-private partnership, what happens is the time consumption is very less, because the two parties are getting involved to one task. So because of that, the time incurred on the particular thing is less. And of course, when it comes to the infrastructure development and the local development, it gets the parameters or whatever the extent in which it goes further is higher than that of like doing alone. And the technical and technological cooperation, of course, and innovation and creativity is almost most of the times is alone in the hand of the private sector. So, but if the government or the public sector can get in hand with private sector, they of course they also can absorb whatever these the advanced technological aspects and innovativeness and the creativity along to them as well. So basically, these are the benefits of the public-private partnership. I'm moving forward. I like to anything now, whatever we take in as a concept or even in our daily life, whatever we do, there are the both pros and cons, the positives and negatives. Likewise, even for this PPP, for the public-private partnership, of course, there are benefits and disadvantages. Here the benefits are listed, like the most of the benefits are like we can get like better infrastructure solutions. That means if we are having current well, problems for our might be in needs of infrastructure or something, we can get solutions. And of course we can faster project completions because since the private sector and the public sector are both engaged, if one party is making delay, the other party can say no, we need this completed in this time, so this is the time limit that we have given. Likewise, the completion of projects can be done faster, and the return on investment might be greater than projects with traditional, because all private or all government fulfillment. We can make, sorry, because of this, this private, either private sector or the government sector, they are no longer eligible to working on their own. So always another party is looking at it. So the return on investment might be greater, and the wastage of might be resources or money allocated for a certain project might also be less. So because of, since this gets more transparent in operation, and the risks are fully appraised early on to determine project feasibility. The other thing is, now the risk is in advance, they get to know what is risk and they are getting ready for it, because they know that the both parties get to know that if the risk is high, the loss is also high. So in order to minimize that, what they do always is they try their best to minimize risk. The disadvantage is sometimes this might be happen for the public sector. The cost might be high because sometimes now even now if it is into my country, I am talking about the parameters. Now if we are on a procurement committee, sometimes like in government sector, we might go for not the highest cost, not the highest price, not the least price, in between that price, and we might be looking hundreds of parameters, and of course it takes time as well in order to get finalized through procurement committees. Then what happens sometimes, because of this taking much time as well, directly impact on the high cost at the end. But when it comes to only private sector is involved, they are not that much bothered about the cost and all. They of course really want only the quality. So that is the disadvantage in the means of cost. And the other thing is the competitiveness is getting limited for this cost-effective partnering. Imagine now if there's a competition between these partners, sometimes all the partners would try their best to be the best or do the best. But when they get partnered with each other, the competition between them is less, because they all know at the end of the day, they all are partners and they are in a partnership. And sometimes the profits of the projects can vary depending on the assumed risk, the level of competition, and the complex and scope of the project. Sometimes the profits might be vary, and sometimes it might not be the expected that so far. Sometimes we might forecast kind of a profit, but at the end of the project, the forecasted profit might not be received because of like every decision has to be go through both parties, the public sector and the private sector. Sometimes there might be some arguments and all, so it takes time as well. So it is kind of a negative thing sometimes. And if the expertise in the partnership lies heavily on the private side, the government is at an inherent disadvantage. The other thing is, now if the partnership is more into the private sector, that is of course again disadvantageous for the government sector, because Government sector is in the sense the public sector in which their target is always the provision of welfare to the people or to the general citizenry. But the private sector is on the other hand, most of the time they try to have their profit or some kind of a return on investment in the means of their investment. So these are the basic, the benefits or the positive factors and the negative factors of this, the public-private partnership. Here again, these are the 7 principles of good governance in PPPs. Here, these are the 7 principles that we may have to undergo when we are moving to public-private partnership. A coherent public-private partnership policy, strong enabling institutions, legal framework, fewer, better, simpler, cooperative risk sharing and mutual support. This is very important right now. Transparency in partner section, putting people first, achieving sustainable development. These are the good governance or the best practices that we have to undergo with when we are moving with public-private partnership. There has to be a coherent PPP policy. It has to be like very flexible and transparent, and the institutions that work together has to be very strong in the means of might be financial or in the means of might be the infrastructure that they do have. And when it comes to the legal framework, it has to be very simple and better, and it has to be more easy to work with. And of course, the risk is shared cooperatively among the parties, and there has to be the mutual support to each other. Like without supporting to each other, like if it gets a fierce competition, no one will be in the long run. So there has to be definitely the mutual support in between these parties. And as I told you, there has to be the transparency, of course. Then only the parties that have been partnered, they get to know that what is happening and what will be the future and what is the way forward of a certain project. And putting people first. This is the very important point, because we all know that uh, we are getting adhered to these sustainable development goals, and we are talking about all these factors because of people. People, the concept or the word is the most important. I don't say that land below, sorry, life below water, life on land are not important. They are important. That importance is directly impacting towards the humankind or the mankind. Because if these all the things or this entire system is not balanced, at the end of the day, what happens is the people would be in danger. The life of the humankind is in danger. Their health, their economy, their whatever, the day-to-day life, all the things would be in danger if this system or this ecology is not balanced. Then, achieving sustainable development. Sustainable development means, of course, sometimes we think that going green and getting adhered to green practices is sufficient. Like most of us, we think that sustainability is that. No, not that. We have to adhere to this development not only by going green or not only by saving electricity or not only by going to solar energy. No, we have to think of all these. It is an entire, as a nutshell, we have to think of all, encounter all these factors, and it is something like 360-degree parameter, because not only this environmental factor, we have to think of this people factor as well, right? Then profit or the economy, because if any point of this is violated, we can't say that it is sustainable, and it would be the starting point of the destruction of the entire humankind or the mankind. So that's why sustainable development is that much important, and in that the 17th goal is important, because as one person, now imagine if everything get, now there are constant wars, even right now we are experiencing in some situations. So if imagine if one party gains the victory, and if only they are sustained here, what happens? No longer we can say that they are the winners. The reason is that alone the system has been created not only for one person. It has been created, it is kind of a web. It is interlinked, interconnected with lots of factors. So we all have to be here, not only us, animals, the plants, uh, the, the ocean life, the marine life, what we call, everything has to be here. Then only we can say an entire system is there. Okay, I'm moving forward with the other slide. So now I'm talking about why partnership matters for SDGs. Why partnership matters for SDGs? Because as I told you, now if we take the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, you know some development goals are interconnected. Like for example, if we take the SDG goal number 3, good health and well-being, it is interconnected with several other goals like poverty reduction, quality education, gender equality, provision of clean water and sanitation, and even the inequality reduction. So that is only one example. That means all these SDGs are interconnected with one or two or few other goals, but this goal, the 17 goal, this partnership is connected with all these factors. All the rest of the 16 sustainable development goals, partnership is connected. You might think how it happens. Now imagine if it comes to good health and well-being, a government is not alone, it cannot bring it out. There has to be the partnership of the public sector and even the community. If a particular government is giving kind of regulations on, might be food, imagine they are telling, they are giving us instructions not to consume this food with MSGs, monosodium glutamate and all, and be concerned on your health, go for a healthy diet. If it says, like if the government is giving that regulation, imagine, for example, people are also, the general citizenry are also accepting that. But if the private sector who are into this food industry, if they are violating that rule, what happens? No longer we can achieve that. If they are adding so much of chemicals and all to their food, and if there are no any options for the general citizenry, what happens? We consume whatever existing in the market. Then what happens? Again, it is not sustainable, and that's why this partnership is important, even for this good health and well-being. For all of these points, it is important. Now, if we take gender equality, as I told you, public sector, private sector, the normal general citizenry, they all have to be partnered with each other. Then only we can go for this target or the goal. Now, if imagine if it is the peace and whatever this aspect, imagine now sometimes the war is there in between few countries. It can be that means basically two governments. But yet we have to have the partnership of the private sector and the general citizen, might be sometimes in the means of our attitudes. We can do a great, huge, good job. If we get partnered with all each other, we can bring back peace. Might be that. And if it is life below water, now if I give you as an example, and even like 5-6 months back, In Sri Lanka, we had a very what we call pathetic incident with regard to Express Pearl. You might have heard of that through news and all. So because of that variety of marine life, a large number of marine life, might both flora and fauna were damaged. Imagine now if we are not taking an action for that, if government is only working for that, that is not enough. As the private sector and as the general citizens, it is our responsibility as well. Sometimes might be environmental conservation, coastal conservation projects, beach clearing campaign, sometimes we can do. So this is how all these development goals, this goal 17 is directly influenced. And imagine if it is provision of clean water and sanitation. Normally, most of our Asian countries, like you know that most of us are yet developing and sometimes might be developed, but yet water, sanitation, like the basic requirements are provided by the governments in our country. But sometimes there might be the partnership of the private sector as well. Now, even in Sri Lanka, when it comes to the electricity, we do have the partnership with some private companies as well. We do get the power generated from private hydropower stations to the national grid. So that means there has to be the partnership in order to give a better output or better service to the citizen. Now, normally, whatever a government does is giving a service to the citizens. Private sector is only aiming at profit and all. So that's what as I told you, partnership is 17th SDG. So the partnership matters for the entire SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals. So as I told you, we can't neglect that partnership is something not very complex and not very hard topic to talk, and it is so simple as at a glance. No, there's a very big concept, and there's a very big story written inside that each and every one of us can get an example, or even for our personal life. Moving forward, so these are some example success stories of public-private partnership. So I have given some projects. In Canada, there has been in Vancouver landfill project that had been done as a public-private partnership project. France, Hospitalier Sud Franceville project that had been done in France. Israel, there had been a highway, and Tajikistan, there had been a power project. USA, there had been a forest project. For all these 5 projects, there had been the public-private partnership. So these are just success stories that I can give you as examples. And in talking to my context, the Sri Lankan context, of course, we do have massive projects in Sri Lanka that we have the public-private partnership, the highway that we have for the down south, and now it is getting expanded to the Kandy, the Central Hills as well. That thing, and we do have a Norachol called power station. So that is of course a public-private partnership project, and the most famous, and sometimes you might also know, Colombo Port City, that we do have the partnership with China Corporation Company. So these are some examples that I can give you from the Sri Lankan context. Now, even what I have to say is, when the very best example that I can give you is when the highway project was under construction and when Norachole power station had been under construction, there had been a very negative attitude towards the 2 projects from the general public, stating that the 2 projects are funded by foreign companies and all. But now, as you all know, we have these power cuts, power interruptions in Sri Lanka. But imagine, like, if we didn't have that, this situation might be more serious than ever. This Noel Chole project as well. So that's what. Sometimes at the very beginning, it might be not that uh, pleasing for us. It might be not that attractive for us. We might think that it would generate lots of negative impacts. But with the time we come across, we get to know that there are of course a huge impact towards the economy. Even the port city right now, it is yet under construction and some parts are open. There was very negative attitude towards that from general public. But I'm pretty sure, as a person into tourism and hospitality, I'm pretty sure within about another 20, 30 years of time, uh, our country would be a heaven on earth, something like it would take us into a massive development in future. That's what. It takes only time. It takes time. And the mutual understanding and the mutual support that these parties have to give for themselves. That is what most important. But anyway, in uh, in in making all this into action, there are some challenges as well. There are some challenges as well. There might be trade wars in the sense time to time it comes, like it arises, and sometimes the human capital, of course, in the sense, of course, what requires is the training and development, because there might be the employees who are eligible to work for an industry and who can work for this concept as well. But what we need is to give them a proper training. So if they are not giving a proper training, and if they are blindly working towards this concept, of course it won't be successful. And economics of the projects. Sometimes, sometimes it depends with economics of the projects. Sometimes because of the situations, it might be the political unrest, or sometimes maybe the economical crisis that we time to time that we have. So might be the reasons behind these challenges. And of course, attracting the private sector. It's a very, especially in countries of Asian and South Asian, it's a very big challenge for us to attract this private sector, because no longer they are not much willing to work together with the private sector is one reason, and sometimes they don't trust the government sector. That is one reason. So these are some challenges that we have to face if we are going to incorporate this public-private partnership along with our projects. Okay, so it has come for the conclusion part. So, as I told you earlier, the most important and most versatile of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and of course it focuses on the means by which to achieve the other goals listed. That's what. Though the other 16 goals are interconnected with each other, the 17th or Sustainable Development Goal, the 17th goal supports other goals to be achieved. That is the uniqueness of this. And if it comes to stepping up for the collaboration and partnerships for a revival of multilateralism, is the best route for tracking the pandemic, climatic, as well as the economic crisis in the world. Right now, of course, we had the influence of this pandemic, and even we are severely affected with this climatic crisis, as well as the economic crisis that was created because of the pandemic. So we are suffering from that as well. So I hope that this public-private partnership would bring trigger benefits to all the countries. Like if we can move with this PPP in order to find solution for this economic crisis. And sometimes there is also a call to improve access to science, technology, innovation, Like sometimes the thing is that in the means of building capacity uh, in countries, of course, we need this public-private partnership because most of the times the high technology is with the private sector because they don't think twice on investing on technology, high technology. So it might also be useful. And these are the suggestions and recommendations so far that I have to make. Like if we can elaborate of a toolkit for public-private partnership training. So this is of course the responsibility of the authorized people, might be the private sector or the public sector. Like if we can give a better training along with this concept, it would be really great. And like if we can share risk and cost with the private sector and increase associational CSR benefits for companies that join partnerships. Like imagine private companies are willing to join with the government sector for the partnership. Like if we can give them some corporate social responsible benefits, of course they would be much attractive towards this concept. And the most important thing is communication and marketing better with the business sector because we want to take this message to them. That is the communication. Like if we are not taking it in right or proper way, it won't be successful. So communication is very important. It has to be done in a proper way so as to get so as to make them attracted to this concept. And of course, we have to treat the private sector as a partner. Sometimes what happens is now in our segment of countries like in our Asian and South Asian, sometimes the government tries to keep the authority because of this legislation power and all. But then what happens? The private sector gets demotivated. But what here I suggest is always we have to treat them alike, we have to treat them in respect, then definitely they would be getting attracted. And if we can focus on a concrete deliverable, like if we can create a situation win-win to both the parties, the public sector and the private sector, definitely they would be getting attracted. Win-win to the both parties. And like if we can afford to showcase the company's best practices in sustainable development, that of course would be because most of the private companies they are practicing plenty of best practices that had been absorbed from the worldwide. So like if we can give them a chance to showcase that and to make to like if we can get their contribution as making them role models for the industry, of course they would be getting attracted because then they know that there is an opportunity for them. There's a seat vacant for them to show their colors and also to support the industry as well as the government and as well as the community. So, so far these are my inputs. These are the references that I have followed. So you might go through the links. And that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. J, for very wonderful presentations. I believe we have a lot of insights in terms of SDGs number 17 about the partnership. Thank you so much also for highlighting that it is an urgent for us to all together achieving the 2030 agenda about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and also collaborations and partnership is one of the key success factors in achieving those goals, I believe. Okay, students and all of the participants, I believe this will be our sessions for the questions and answer as well as the discussions. Before we go for the first questions, I would like to invite participants here. Maybe they can also share in terms of the students' perspective, how they see the partnerships and as well as the international collaboration that can be conducted in the students level, I believe. Can I invite someone from ITS? Nadila Ayunovanti, are you with us? Nadila, can you unmute yourself? Okay, Nadila is not here. How about we have Muhammad Irfan Haryadi? Are you with us as well? Muhammad Irfan, Nadila from ITS. Okay, while we are waiting for others, please feel free, anyone, if you want to unmute yourself and ask questions to Ms. J, please feel free. How about Emmanuel Lembang? Are you with us? Emmanuel. Okay, Nadila, you can write down or the chat box as well. What is your questions to Ms. J? Please feel free to write down. If your microphone is not working, you can put down your questions on the chat box as well. So while we are waiting for students to unmute, Ms. J, so basically, from your point of view, what can be done by the students in the level of the students, how they can implementing the SDGs number 17 about partnerships for the goals? Do they need to like collaborate with high level of public or private sectors, or is it possible for students itself implementing the partnership towards the goal?
Yes. Yeah, thank you, Sai, for the question. Of course, very important question, because the students means they're the future of us. That means they're the people who are into taking our countries into future. Of course, as students, they can do a very huge series of things. That means might be in the means of research and development in any segment. Either it is science and technologies, either it is social sciences, either it is human sciences, whatever. They can do lots of researches, and they can present innovative ideas, innovative concepts with regard to these SDGs and all. And they can get partnered with foreign universities and even your government, and sometimes even with public private sector organizations in your own country or either in foreign countries. And sometimes it might be with the same students of the different countries in different scenarios. They can get together and they can do lots of things as students. It is the great thing, because then they can bridge the gap in between the academia and the industry. I'm not highlighting one industry here, any industry. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. J, for highlighting that. I believe we also have questions here from the participants. So I will just read the questions. Currently, Indonesia's government plans to build its new capital city. So we're going to move actually from Jakarta to another island. It is in Borneo, Kalimantan, and replacing the Jakarta, and will use public and private partnership scheme for the funding. Like the topic that the lecture that you gave about the partnership, what do you think about that, where the pandemic still cannot end yet? So how do you see the public private funding collaborations in terms of the questions related to the movement of new capitals of Indonesia? Will that be count as a part of the partnerships, having the funding scheme collaborations?
Yes.
Please, Ms. J.
Yes, a very wonderful question, because actually I don't point out examples here, because it's not that ethical to say if it is. So because of that, I will say like this. Imagine, I will give a very small example like this. Imagine now you do have your own families, right? You do have your own families, your parents are there, your siblings are there, right? You want to buy a, sorry, very luxurious house, okay? You want to buy a very luxurious house and you don't have money. You will go for a very big loan that is sometimes not bearable for you, okay? So you are going for that loan to be paid like for about like 30 years. Imagine. Then imagine if your mother is a housewife and your father is only working. If in case if father gets passed away and you kids, your siblings are yet studying, what happens? Your family is in danger. You are no longer eligible to find your households, and even sometimes your mom would go out for a work, but she will not be able to go for that the payment of the loan plus your basic requirements. That's why the best example, that's why I say I always encourage this PPP, because if if only one sector, either government, if they are going on either loans or any kind of reserved money at a glance, what happens with the time? Because such massive projects, return on investment is not achieved at a glance. Like within one moment, within one second, we can't get that. At least it takes like 15 to 20 years of time to be settled. So the best option is PPP, because the risk is shared, the amount we invest is shared, so all are happy at the end. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. J. For the next, I would like to invite again the students. If you would like to ask directly, please feel free to unmute yourself. I believe we have students as well from SSCT. So let me try to over the virtual microphone a moment. We have Bebel Portaliza. Do you want to ask questions to Ms. J? Bebel, are you with us? You can just unmute. Okay, so I believe Bebel also already put down some questions. Let me see on the chat box. So another thing that a student asked about the collaboration itself, Ms. J, will that, what do you think if, like, for example, we already have collaborations with partners, will that be okay in your perspective? For the future, we try to keeping the having collaboration with that particular partner, or will that be better to adding a new friends aside from keeping or maintaining the current collaboration that we already have? So what do you think on that? Will that be effective maintaining the relations that we already had, or do you think that will be okay for adding newcomers of partners while it is difficult to maintain the current partnership that we already had?
I think that this partnership is not for the personal lives, right? Yes. Okay. It is like this. Of course, it's up to you to decide. Like, imagine if company is yours, for example, it is up to you to decide whether you are adding new partners or you are going forever further with whatever the existing partners. But yet, if you find that it is more advantageous in the means of might be economic, I mean financial, yes, you can go for new partners, because new partners mean sometimes it might be the new knowledge might come into your company or your organization. It might be sometimes the new technology, the innovative knowledge, innovative thinking, sometimes it might be. So it would be a win-win situation to you, to the existing partners, as well as to the new partners. So I recommend yes.
Okay, thank you for that, Miss J. So we have still plenty of time here. Okay, we have Nadila. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your questions, please?
Yes, Miss. Hello.
Yes, we can hear your voice. Could you please speak directly?
Okay. Thank you for the time. And hello, Miss Jayani. I want to ask that point number 17 of SDGs is public partnership. We know that sometimes we as a student, we have a project that developing like infrastructure in the village and contribute to the teach a child. So, but what I find in reality is sometimes we as a student try to contribute properly, but partners participation from the public itself isn't quite enough. So how we invite the public as we are a student to collaborate together? Thank you.
Nadila, thank you
Yes,
for the
Nadila.
question. Nadila, yes, thank you
Yes.
for the question, and it's a great question. I think she's asking about the public, I mean the general public participation for any kind of projects, right? That means sometimes as students, whenever they are doing kind of a project, it is the public participation is less. I
Yes.
think yes. Nadila, can I know what's your subject area?
My subject is physics, but last semester I took a teaching assistant. Like in Indonesia, it's called kampus mengajar. It's teaching in elementary schools.
Okay. So you mean that the expected support from the general public was not given to you, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. It is like this, Nabila. My base is also an Asian country, and your base is also, of course, the same. Sometimes the stereotypes and the stigma that is in the mindsets of the general public is not that good. And I actually am not aware about the social context of that particular area. I know sometimes there might be some limitations from the society itself when it comes to the education, might be for sometimes for the females especially. So in such a situation, what you can do is, yet I know it is it is not use, it is really useless to argue or go and beg in front of them. That is not practical, and we are not eligible to do that. But you can do such a thing, like you can get them encouraged. Imagine there are about 10 families and only 5 families came, children from 5 families supported for your project. What you can do is you can use those people as the ambassadors of yourself. You can Communication is the most important. If you can communicate it in a nicer way, in an attractive way, like in an encouraging way, sometimes the attitudes must be changed. But I'm pretty sure it will take a time. It won't happen. It is not, it won't happen in one night after one dream of yours. It won't happen. And of course, don't forget that it's not a rocket science as well. You can do it. Try for it. You can do it. The best thing is about communication. Sometimes you might have to use some aids, learning materials, so as to encourage them. Sometimes it might be in your project. So I hope you will be able to do that. If you can communicate it in the right manner, you will be able to do that.
Okay.
Nabila, are you?
Yes, Miss. So I catch the point that we can use our communications to better.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nadila, for asking the questions. Yeah, that's also the highlights as well about the educations, and partnership for educations is also important in achieving the goals for SDGs. Okay, I would like to open one more questions, students, if you are still together with us. Can I invite Clarissa Japai from SSCT? Would you mind to ask your questions directly? Okay, Clarissa, are you with us? Or maybe Beverly Dizan? Are you, can you unmute yourself to ask directly? Okay. Beverly, are you with us? Okay, maybe they still have the connections trouble, Miss J. And I have another questions here about the partnership. So do you think that having the public partnerships or private partnership, which one like the urgent collaboration that we should start with? Will that be any difference if we start from the public or from the private sector? Do you have any opinion on that?
Yes, fine. Thank you for the question, of course. My opinion is like, of course, it of course depends with the situation, with the instance. Imagine if the authority of the particular project is to public sector, they have to invite for the private partnership. And if the project, the ownership is for the private sector, they have to get collaborated with the public sector. It of course depends with the situation, and it of course depends with the project that we have to get the partnership. Yes.
Okay, so then it backs again to the aim of the collaborations, yeah? If it is targeting a particular public, so then the priorities for the public's collaborations and vice versa for the private sector. Okay, I don't think there will be upcoming questions anymore. Ms. J, would you mind to have a closing remarks about the SDGs number 17 in terms of partnership for the goals before we end our sessions today?
Yes. As we discussed, like for about this 1.5 hours, you might get now have a clear idea that how the sustainable development goals, and apart from that, the 17 sustainable development goal is important, because those some sustainable development goals are interconnected with few others. The 17 sustainable development goal is interconnected with all the rest of the 16 sustainable development goals. The other thing, it is not a unaware thing, and it is, we all know that, we all are aware that right now the entire world is in an economic crisis because of the pandemic situation. So either it is for the tourism and hospitality, or it is for the apparel or the health sector or education sector, whatever, the best solution that so far we can get is the public-private partnership. Like it would incorporate the public sector, private sector, and even the general citizenry for this success. Finally, what I want to say is that, of course, united we stand, divided we fall. Like if we can stand together and if we can go for a goal together, then we would be successful all together, and it would be win-win for all of us. That's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. J, for the Thank you so much, Ms. J, for the closing remarks. So I believe We already learned so much from you in terms of the partnerships and collaborations that we should aim as well to achieve the SDGs that we have for the sustainable community. And before we close the sessions, I would like to invite the committee to give a round of applause as well as the participants. Please give a round of applause to Ms. J for having a very wonderful lecture today. And we would like to present a certificate of appreciations for you, Ms. J. Okay, the soft file will be sent very soon, and here is the appreciations for Ms. J. Okay, thank you so much, Ms. J. We will send you the certificate as soon as possible, as well for the hard copy. We will send it to your address. And I would like to invite Ms. Reni or Ms. Tias for further information about the GLS SDGs. Thank you so much, Ms. J, for your presentations and great lecture today.
Yes, thank you very much. And I would like to say that you too can share the presentation with your students, and there it has mentioned my email. So if you would like to connect with me, I'm almost, I welcome you all. It has been mentioned my email as well. Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for your attention, and wish you everyone very good luck, and may you be able to achieve whatever the dreams that you have in your lives. Thank you very much, and good luck for the university as well.
Thank you very much, Ms.Jayani, for your amazing remark closing. And Ms.Jayani, thank you very much once again for your amazing lecture today regarding partnership for the goals. We believe that your lecture will be beneficial for our participants today. And now we are finished our session, but before that, don't forget, we still have one important information for our participants. As we can see in the screen. Yes, the screen is already appear, okay. We would like to remind you that we held 3 sessions of GLS on SDGs this semester. So this March, we held concept and principles, and then it will be preceded by practices and policy, and then we proceed to the GLS on SDGs project. And for this semester, we are not only offering stamp for it for ITS students or international certificate for non-ITS participants, but we also offering 3 credits of credit transfer. And for this credit transfer scheme, there are several requirements as follows. We would like to remind you once again. First, join 9 meetings in GLS on SDGs concept and principles. And second, join 9 meetings again in GLS on SDGs, practices and policy. And also participants required to join SDGs project at June, and then active in class is also mandatory. And then submit to TWIL, or that's what I learned from SDGs concept and principle, and also 2 TWILs for SDGs practice and policy. Therefore, participants will require to submit 4 TWILs, 2 TWILs in March, and then 2 TWILs again in June. But 2 TWILs in May. Okay, so don't forget to submit your second TWIL for GLS on SDGs concept and principles before 31st March through www.bit.ly/GLS TWIL, like as we can see in the chat box soon. Okay, and also not only requirement, we also provide prizes for the participants. So as we can see in these posters, that the winner of the SDGs project will be first for ITS students. It will be study excursion And the second, for international students, that will be free waiver of contact short programs. Okay, so once again, we would like to remind you that we will back on June at GLS on SDGs project in June, and also GLS on SDGs practices and policy in May. So finally, we have reached the end of today's guest lecture series, and we would like to remind you again that we'll be back on May. Don't forget. So GLS on SDGs still will be back on May. Okay, once again, thank you very much for our honorable speaker and all participants for the attention and cooperation. We hope to see you again in the next agenda. And also don't forget to follow our social media on Instagram at ITS International Office and Facebook ITS International Office also, and keep updated of our programs. Stay safe, stay healthy, and please enjoy the rest of the evening. GLS on SDGs will be back next month. See you. Thank you very much, Ms.Jayani.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
great day ahead. Bye, Boan.
It's very honorable to have you as our speaker here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and also participants, thank you very much for your cooperation and your attendance today. And let me end the session in 3, 2, 1.